Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, whenever you are in the world, you are most welcome here at this IFMBE CED webinar, where we're going to be looking at HTM, Health Technology Management Innovation in the time of COVID. You know, there's an old English proverb which goes something like this. It says, necessity is the mother of invention. I think it actually comes from a translation from Plato's Republic, where it might better be phrased as, our need will be the real creator. Now, however you choose to phrase this, I think the sentiment is clear. When things get tough, that's the time that people need to be at their most inventive. I think we can all agree that the last 12 months or so, things have been pretty tough as the world has faced challenges brought by the COVID pandemic. And clinical engineers have very much been at the forefront of this challenge and doing some very inventive and innovative and creative thinking along the way. So CED have pulled together just a few examples of this innovation from around the world and have created this 2-day program. This is part 1. Part 2 will be at exactly the same time tomorrow. And this is just to showcase just a few of these amazing achievements. So my name's Dan Clark. I'm a clinical engineer from the United Kingdom, and I'm delighted to be sharing the hosting job today with my good friend and colleague Shauna Mullally from Canada. Today's program itself is actually in 3 parts. Firstly, we're going to have a look at innovation around asset management. Then in the second part, we're going to look at a couple of presentations on the innovation around parts and manuals. I'm going to end up with a discussion panel around disaster planning. Callie, can we move on 1 slide, please? So before we launch into this exciting program, can I just point out for people the Zoom Q&A facility, the question and answer facilities. We'd love to hear what people are thinking about these presentations as they go along. So if you've got a point to make or a question to ask, please do use the Q&A facility to do that. And Shauna and myself, ably assisted by Tom and Callie, will try and pull these together and either answer them in the Q&A facility or present them to our speakers. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Shauna now, who's going to introduce our first 2 speakers. Shauna.
Thank you so much, Dan. You said it very well. Necessity is the mother of invention. And if there's one thing our profession has seen globally this year, it's that we've had a lot of learnings and a lot of kind of global recognition and global interest in what we actually do as a profession. And often when we hear the word innovation in our field, people think of product innovation. And while that's absolutely a very essential part, especially of a response to a global pandemic like COVID, with the design of new and innovative and appropriate technologies for all sorts of different settings of use. It's also really interesting for us as a group of professional colleagues around the globe to really think about innovation from a system perspective. So how do we innovate? How, as clinical engineers, do we have we created new systems in response to a crisis very rapidly, and what have we learned through that process? And also, how have we used and changed existing systems and adapted them to be able to meet the very, very pressing needs that we've all faced around the world this past year. So the first area that we're going to investigate, as Dan said, was asset management, and I'm delighted to hand over to a presentation that our colleague Tazeen Bukhari from Pakistan actually pre-recorded because she's just recently given birth to a baby. So she has a very good reason for having pre-recorded, and we're delighted to be able to hear from her talking about the startup of an approach for asset management in facing the COVID pandemic. Here we go.